Hello. There is an interesting point that most people tend to overlook when they talk about GMOs. And this point is that everything on Earth is a GMO. And it is not because of Monsanto or DuPont or some mad scientist in some rogue lab trying to create the perfect being or, end world hunger or anything like that. Genetic modification is a natural process. And as long as life forms have been on Earth, they have been genetically modifying themselves and responding to their genetic modifications through in other genetic expressions, adaptation, coevolution, natural selection. And as long as humans have been around, they also have been genetically modifying the plants and animals around them. Selective breeding is genetic modification. It happens a lot slower, but it is still genetic modification. Now, this is not exactly the same genetic modification that will create Frankenfish or Roundup Ready soybeans and things like this. It is a question of what form of genetic modification is acceptable and what form of genetic modification isn't acceptable. Now, for me, genetic modification is unavoidable, so I do accept there's an acceptable form. So what is it? It is that which benefits all life. It does not threaten life. It does not produce tumors in lab rats or mice. It does not, I don't know how to bring about a sort of genetic modification resistance. This is not natural genetic modification. And this is what scares people about genetic modification. Plants and animals are not supposed to be having sex together and producing offspring. And there's not supposed to be chemicals out there that some things can handle and other things can't, based on a laboratory experiment. And for this to get out of control and then to become a legal issue to the point where corporate fascism has taken over the judicial system and politicians have sold their souls for a few tens of thousands of dollars of chemical genetic modification companies, like Monsanto. And this is not the way it's supposed to be. If these companies are really here for the benefit of humanity, why do they have to buy the politicians? Why do they have to fight with millions and millions of dollars and propaganda against labeling of genetic modified organisms in the food? If it's so great and here for our benefit, what's the big deal? If educate the public about the truth of it, if there is any truth worth sharing. But to skip even a debate and go straight to prohibiting labeling of genetically modified products, this is fishy, It is Frankenfishy. And this is what people are resisting. Is there a way to get ungenetically modified organisms? No. Is there a way to grow your own? Yes. That is what I suggest. Grow your own food. That way you know what is in it and what is not in it. And eventually you will have your own variety. Your variety. If you do it right. So, genetically modified organisms, yes, they all should be labeled specifically, as an ingredient. It is not just a soybean, but it's a genetically modified soybean, as all soy products are. It's in our corn, therefore it's in our pork, and our chicken, and our beef, and in the cornflakes, and it's in the bread, and there's just a lot of things that are having include ingredients that are genetically modified that the companies like Monsanto do not want you to know about, and I want to know why they don't want people to know. And if it's just about profits, that people will not buy it if it's genetically modified, educate the public about the safety of it. But if you skip the education process, my question is there anything to educate us with? Thank you.